Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I am one of your hosts, Corey Derrigan. Alongside me, as always, is the Godslayer, witness vanquishing Josh Finney.
Hi, Corey. It's been a long week.
It has been. It has been that and then some. But it's been a good week.
It's been a very good week. Man, we had a great sit down on Tuesday night with the one and only Jeff Gardner.
Yeah, it was great.
Which that's going to go live on Monday, I believe.
Yeah, it'll be live on Monday.
It's going to be shared on the Boss Rush podcast feed.
Yep.
It was a great show. We spent, combined with the pre-show, I think we spent like 2.5 hours talking with Jeff.
Yeah, I think the total runtime right now is at 2 hours and 43 minutes.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And we kind of had to fly through we had to fly through listener questions at the end.
I know. I kept messaging him. I'm like, are you okay on time? He's like, I'm good. And then like, he was just like, yeah, as long as we wrap it up by, 11:15.
Yeah. I may have gotten him to hold court for basically a full hour of this. It was great.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was really hoping you would do that because I know how good at interviewing people you are. And so like, plus like the last time we had him on, like I kind of talked a whole lot and I kind of felt bad because LaRon didn't talk a whole lot. So like letting you and LaRon have the floor and just me just kind of hanging out, listening to incredible stories. Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It's one of the only times I can really remember that I've done like a long form interview like that where it hasn't been like, oh, it's just like a little like 5 maybe 10 minute thing.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's been years since I did interviews like this. The last time I can really think of that I did was probably back, oh my God, like 7-8 years ago. At a Comic-Con down in Florida, I had a chance to sit down with a few different actors that I really like their projects. Somewhere out there in the ethereal, I once upon a time interviewed Michael Rooker, Sam Witwer.
Ooh.
I got to be around for a lot of the cast of Mallrats. They were Kevin Smith's Mallrats. They were doing a big reunion showing at that con, so that's why Michael Rooker was there.
Mm-hmm.
But we got a chance to sit down and talk to my buddy and I got a chance to talk with Jason Mewes, with Brian O'Halloran, with a bunch of the mainstays, I guess you could say, as well as some of the actors from Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior, one of my favorite movies ever. So it was a really great experience. We also got to talk with one of the SHIELD agents who turned into being a Hydra agent from Captain America: Winter Soldier. Max Hernandez, who, if you've watched it, he plays Sitwell, Jasper Sitwell in those movies.
The bald guy with the glasses, right?
Yeah, the bald guy with the glasses. He's also in another great movie, Sicario. He's one of those like, oh, it's that guy actors for me. Yeah. He's a Joe Pantoliano for me.
Yeah.
So it was a great experience. So, but that was years and years ago, and I've always liked getting to sit down and just pick people's brains. And in that gap, I become a much better writer, interviewer, host, things like that. That was still so early in my podcasting career. I mean, God, I was 24 at the time, not even.
Yeah.
I was like 23, 24 at the time. And I like to think that I've become a lot better at it over the years. We hadn't even met yet when I went and did that con.
Yeah. It's a long time ago.
Oh my God, dude. It was so long ago. In fact, there was somebody else there that, oh God, I'm trying to remember. The name will eventually come. The name will eventually come to me. But she had such a small bit role in The Force Awakens, which had just come out. Force Awakens was maybe like 6 months old at this point. and she she would later show up in a few shows that some of us may or may not have liked. Some of the lesser Marvel shows on Netflix. Oh God, now I gotta look her name up. I'm waxing poetic about things. But
well, we got a few more lined up, hopefully in the next couple, within the next 2 months. There's going to be a lot. So I already talked to you about one of them.
Yeah,
so that'll be cool.
I remember her name, Jessica Henwick. She had just been in The Force Awakens. It's just maybe a year afterwards. At absolute most, it was a year after, and she hadn't really been in anything big up to that point. But if that name's sounding a little familiar to you, she played Colleen in Iron Fist and in Defenders. She was in Glass Onion. She was in Matrix Resurrections, Love and Monsters. She was just in Cuckoo, which just came out. So very, very, very cool person. She was super nice because like no one was stopping at her table, because that's like all she had done was just like this little bit role. I think that was like her first ever con. As a matter of fact. But yeah, it was she was right across the aisle from Sam Witwer, so I kind of got like a 2-for-1 out of it. Nice. It was really cool though. She was in Game of Thrones for a little bit. Super nice person.
Nice.
It's funny when you go to cons, especially like local ones that aren't like, nationally promoted, like, oh, not like San Diego or New York Comic-Con, but like, this is in like rinky-dink Pensacola, Florida. It's a little bit easier to get that one-on-one time, even with the bigger ones, because they pluck people from the community to come in and host their panels and ask questions and things like that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I would actually love to do another con like that at some point.
Nice. Yeah,
we've both been to PAX.
Yeah, PAX, man. I'm going in a couple weeks.
Yeah, you're going back in a couple weeks. My buddy Ray is going in a couple weeks.
Speaking of Josh, I got my Capcom invitation today.
Oh, you got it
for a little game called Monster Hunter Wilds, Josh.
Just a little game.
Just a little game. So
gonna be the biggest game at the show.
Yeah.
By far.
Yep. I'm quite excited. So I'm not into Monster Hunter at all, but something I can say I got to do. So I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah, no, that's a great opportunity. When I went to PAX, the very first PAX South, no longer a show, but I went early 2015. I think was the first one. January 2015 may have been the first PAX South. I remember going and sitting in on the Gearbox panel, and
was it magic?
That was interesting because I wasn't super into Borderlands at the time.
Yeah.
But that was where they announced Tales from the Borderlands for the first time.
Yeah.
So that was cool to see that in action. People that, I really respect around. Andrew Goldfarb was the moderator. I don't remember. Actually, I don't remember. He was either the moderator or he was on the panel. One of the two. He was their community manager at the time. Mm-hmm. Mikey Newman was one of the writers there. Movies with Mikey. He was there. He was talking about, his work on it. And, we have fucking Randy Pitchford. That was the first moment that I realized Randy was kind of a weird fucking dude.
Yeah, he's that was the Borderlands 3 panel where he they couldn't get the stream to work, so he just did magic for everybody or something.
He did a lot of magic during this panel too.
Oh. Well.
Yeah, he talked about Homeworld 2 a lot and then talked about magic.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Did magic tricks, and I'm sitting in like the second row and I was like, what the fuck is this guy's problem? It was very, very interesting.
Jeez.
Yeah. But good times. It's it was a thing. It was a whole thing.
Yeah. I'm gonna try. Phil Spencer's supposed to be there too. I'm gonna try to stalk him.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the keynote speaker, right?
Yeah, he's doing something that first.
I'm looking at the lineup right now. He is doing a story time with Phil Spencer at 11 a.m. on Friday morning.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I kind of did that. I kind of did that to Major Nelson at the PAX East, and I got to talk to him for like 15 minutes uninterrupted. So that was cool. But,
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff happening. If you've never been to a PAX or a GCX or something like that, I really encourage you to try and make it to one of those at some point.
Yeah, it's fun. It's
Yeah,
especially with like, it's not. I mean, it's cool. You get to see a lot of indie games and a lot of like bigger games and stuff. But it's about people that like you get to meet a lot of people too, which is cool. Especially if like Josh, when we go next year, like we'll have the media pass or whatever, right? And like,
yeah,
you get to sit in like the 3 media rooms and just talk to everybody, and like while you're writing your articles or editing your stuff, and it's just cool the people that you meet there too, other content creators, big and small, right? It's just, and they're all like just doing the same thing you are, right? It just
yeah.
It kind of hits you that like, oh, sometimes like especially when we were younger, when we looked up to certain creators or podcasters or whatever for inspiration and stuff, and then you finally meet them and they're just regular people. He just kind of does.
Yeah, it's funny that like people that we looked up to are like technically now our peers.
Yeah. So it's good times. Highly recommended. But yeah, Josh, that Jeff Gardner interview was great. I'm glad you took that first hour to do that.
Yeah, if you guys don't like me talking a lot, it might not be the episode for you, but I'm immensely proud of it.
Should we tell people who Jeff Gardner is in case they don't know?
Yeah, if you don't know, I'm sitting here talking like we haven't just had this guy on our brains for 2 weeks. Jeff Gardner is the founder and is it CEO?
He's the CEO, yeah,
of Something Wicked Games. They're working on their first title, Weird Song. But Jeff has worked on some games that you might know a little bit about. He had a hand in crafting the Elder Scrolls Oblivion DLCs. Worked on Fallout 3 and Skyrim, primarily as DLC lead, and with the art team a lot. And then was one of the lead producers on Fallout 4 and was the project lead for 76.
Yeah.
So for 76, and I should add it for the Wastelanders content.
Mm-hmm.
Its first real big DLC, the one that brought NPCs into the game. Very, very, very nice guy though, just with so much to share about the industry, from how he got started, all the way up to the challenges of running your own studio. The pluses, the pros and the cons. He did not shy away from any topic either. He willingly talked about some pretty hard stuff. I mean, as you can imagine, the project lead of 76 might have some reservations about talking about that game, but he was very candid and open with us. He was open about his own studio's struggles. But just a immensely nice guy with so much to share.
Yeah, he's great. And I mean, the fact that we had him on once was enough, but this was the second time that we've had him on that podcast, and he's just been nothing but gracious to us. Like, he sent us stuff the first time, and he's offered, he said anything he could do to help us grow. And, he's just,
he was like, hey, make sure that you let me know, like, when we post this. I want to make sure that I post it on both my account and on the studio's account. He did give us, some little teases about Weird Song, which is cool. But we really focused on talking about his career as a whole, and how how is it going from developing only single player games into live service and then back into single player, and like creating your own world for the first time when you've only ever worked in worlds that existed before. And
also like he talked a little bit about like how they had this ambition for Weird Song, and how like adjusting a project to a budget was really interesting,
to extend your having to extend your runway and stuff when you're not getting investors, and how the post-COVID boom has dried up in terms of funding. Like we talked a lot about where the industry is right now. It just great guy to pick the brain of. If you like Baldur's Gate, he talks a lot about Baldur's Gate. He's a big Warhammer nerd. Yeah, just great guy all around. So very, very happy to get to talk to Jeff. Hope it's not the last time that we're talking to Jeff, but
I don't think it will.
Hope that closer to maybe after we get some footage from Weird Song out there, maybe we'll get to talk with him again as we get closer to release.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the last time we talk to him, Josh.
I don't think so either, but I don't, you never want to take these opportunities for granted.
Right. Yeah.
Corey and I have been really lucky to get to talk to and meet some very cool people in our time. So
yeah, very, don't take it for granted at all. Very, very lucky, very, happy with, how we've progressed in our careers as podcasters, Josh, content creators. Yeah. Come a long way,
we've come a very long way from solving sleeper stimulant in a Facebook group.
Yep.
From recording our very first podcasts, which thankfully for me have been lost to time.
I think the first podcast, like, I forget what kind of, I was either on that podcast, on your podcast, or like it was like a collaborative thing.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even have a microphone at the time. I was using the webcam mic, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible.
Yeah, I did not invest in a real. It took me a while to invest in a real microphone. I used corded headphones for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I finally, one day I went out and bought it was a big deal because I was dropping like $100 on a microphone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Went out and bought my Yeti, which I still use today.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it's going to be retired soon. It's going to be retired soon. I'm getting better audio equipment just across the board. I'm upgrading my setup. So
yeah, I've been using this for about 6-ish years at this point.
Yeah. I mean, for God's sake, I finally got a real webcam a couple of years ago. So
it's true. And I don't know. I've been thinking about investing in a really nice podcasting mic. Not that this isn't nice, but
yeah.
Those Shure microphones are really, really nice, Josh.
Yeah, there's it's funny, like when we both started podcasting, not to turn this into our podcasting history, but we both started making content, like Yeti was about the only name that was affordable.
Mm-hmm.
And now like everyone Shure makes pretty affordable stuff. SteelSeries makes stuff, Elgato makes stuff. Like you can't go wrong with like any of these brands.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you're not. God, LeBron is so loud too.
I know.
Turn the gain down, buddy.
I had to turn it down.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It was very funny. Like you could visibly hear the difference between like how loud you, me, and Jeff were versus LeBron.
Yeah, his gain is so high because his microphone sits so far away from him.
That's fair.
And it's, I don't know. I wish it was closer, but
when it's that paired with like we love LeBron. When it's that paired with a naturally loud person like myself, it's a recipe for disaster sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you and LeBron are naturally loud people.
Yeah,
where I'm not naturally loud.
No,
not one bit. So
not even a little bit. But we're almost 20 minutes in. Should we get to the Destiny of it all?
I guess we should probably talk about Destiny since this is a Destiny podcast, huh?
We got a question last week on Friday, and it wasn't in an actual question thread. It was in general chat from Hydra asking, "Is this week's episode more positive or not?" And I was like, "No, not really." We were on like day 9 of the saga of Pete Parsons and firing a fourth of the studio.
Yeah.
I do feel like we kind of turned that corner. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm jumping for joy this week. But, it's also not all completely doom and gloom at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the game does go on. Life does go on. We can still enjoy what we're playing while keeping all that stuff, at the forefront of our minds. You're not a horrible person for enjoying something that's being ruined by capitalism, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk a little bit about Solstice to start us off before we get into the Schwab. Corey, how much have you dabbled in Solstice? I know that neither one of us was particularly excited for this.
I haven't, not because I haven't wanted to,
it's
but
been a little busy.
It's especially because we're trying to double up on content because of PAX and my other podcasts and stuff. So I've like I was telling you before the recording, I've recorded every night this week so far, sometimes multiple shows in the night. And so my throat is dead and I still have to record Nintendo Pal Block tomorrow. So it's well, I've been wanting to dabble in Solstice. I'll get to it this weekend. But
if I may,
I do want to say the armor looks pretty sick.
Yeah, if I may, about Solstice.
You may, Josh.
I'm not a particularly huge fan of Solstice this year, and you may be like, "Oh my god, what? Josh doesn't like something." What a shock! I'm not a fan of Solstice because let me lay it out for you. I'm tired of the EAZ. They don't even use the whole thing anymore. They just use 5 or 6 spawn locations.
Yeah,
these four locations for the Taken, when you include the boss, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 areas for enemies to spawn in. And I understand that part of that is to, maximize the amount of orbs that you're throwing and this and that. I don't really care for this system because it was such a unique area, but we've been using it for 6 years now. I think that we can afford for y'all to go develop a new area for us to do this in. Okay, at least they got some new voice lines for Saint, but that's about it. We really didn't get much else. It is, I don't know. I don't really enjoy it. I think that the loot drops are more than adequate. That's almost always my complaint with these seasonal activities is we don't get enough weapon drops. Holy shit. I got so many weapon drops. If you're hitting 20 or more orbs, you're getting 4 weapon drops a run. Once you get the armor able to drop, which we'll get to in a second, as my probably major gripe of the event, then you're getting I kid you not, I'm getting 7 or 8 pieces of gear every run now. And I haven't even unlocked every armor piece. So the loot is dropping at a good cadence, but you've got the rolls you want after 3 or 4 runs, maybe. There's no reason to keep doing the event if all you care about is the new weapon. I think the first time I ran it, I got 4 bows right off the bat. I am not a big bow lover, so take this with a grain of salt. I don't think it's life-altering by any means. I think it's likely that you have a good version of this bow, or a bow that does something very similar to begin with. I don't know. It's the armor quest also feels a little tedious. So you do it through the Solstice Forge in your quest inventory, and you pull bounties out of there, which, don't get me wrong, I like that aspect of it. I like that you can pull the bounties from there, because that way you're not running back to Grandma every other run. You're not running to the tower for it. Mm-hmm. Now you're running to the tower or the helm to clean out your postmaster every run or two, but other than that, you're actually pretty okay. You can pull everything from there. There are varying point values, and I think the point values need to be adjusted a little bit more. There's 5, 15, and then 50. And I think it really needs to go something more like 10, 30, and then 50. Mm-hmm. I think it's probably a little too grindy for me, but you have to get 100 Solstice. I'm just going to call them Solstice points. I don't know the exact terminology, but 100 Solstice points for each piece of armor, and then you get a quest to go finish a bonfire bash. You can pick up that quest. After that, you got to get 50 more points to get the second quest, which is to make it incandescent, which is to get the glows on it, essentially, or to get it get like the lesser glow, to get the fancy glow, you still have to pay for it in the shop. I think that whole aspect of it is kind of cool because it encourages you to go you can do these bounties inside, at least like the 5 and 15 ones you can do inside a bonfire bash. The 50s you can't. And that to me is it's a really strange decision. The 50s that I've seen are complete 2 raid encounters, complete 3 dungeon encounters, complete a Grandmaster Nightfall. When it says 7 rounds, it means 7 matches of trials. And there's one that is 300,000 points in Nightfalls, which that one's cake, right? If you have a fire team, go do the dungeon one. If you can get a few people in, maybe go do the raid one. What I was doing with Joe and Johnny last week was I was stacking as many of these as I could. You only have one for each slot at a time, so I was either stacking as many 50s as I could and refreshing my bounties. This is what the silver leaves are for. Mm-hmm. You refresh them until you get what you want. And when you get what you want, you pluck that bounty, you pay more silver leaves for it. And it was cool. Like I was doing like 3 Grandmaster Nightfall ones at once, for instance. I think that's kind of cool that you can stack all that. I saw people finishing their armor on day 1, and I'm just like, Jesus, how? Yeah. Last week was the week to do the Grandmaster ones. It was Fallen Saber. That's a quick like 10, 12 minute in and out. I think I'm finally on the incandescent step for my 2 or 3 remaining armor pieces. And I'm just drained, man. I got my weapon drops on day 1. Dealer and I were out there grinding before we understood you could get the 50s to drop in there. It was just like 5s, maybe 15s if we were lucky. You're going to be there all fucking week if you're trying to do 5s and 15s. Like, you have to go do the 50s if you plan on getting this done, especially if you didn't start from day 1.
Right.
And you might be like, well, Josh, you only have to do 3 50s for each of these armor pieces in order to get done. Yeah, but man, you're going to spend so much time re-rolling, and you have to pay 5 silver leaves to re-roll. You have to pay 5 silver leaves for each of those big bounties. You blow through those really quickly. And that's kind of the position I've found myself in now. I don't know. It's weird because it encourages us to go play other activities, which we always ask for in these events, right?
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, damn, I really wish you had a 50 that I could just get from doing Bonfire Bash like 3 times or something. Like, just let me go, I don't know, throw 50 orbs total myself into the fire and have that counter. As a fire team, throw 100 or something. Like, you'll get that done in 3.5 runs. Something that is, it's a little grindy, but you're working on other stuff. You're working on other bounties maybe at the same time. I would understand it. The other aggravation is these don't work like normal quests. This is where I think they should have shown up as quests and not as bounties. You only have a day to do the bounties. So say you pick one up towards the end of a play session. By the time you log in the next day, hey, life gets in the way. Oh, you don't get it. You're out those silver leaves. You're out the progress you were making. So I do think it would work better if they were quests. But I think the Forge it's a good idea. It needs to be refined. And that just seems to be something we keep saying about Destiny. And I don't like having you keep saying that about Destiny. This feels like we're on like year 6 or 7 of doing Solstice. How have you guys not figured this out?
Right.
Like,
I mean,
you fuck with it every couple of years, and that's fine. Like, this changed it up, and this is for the best. If you want to do this, and I think when you have a pool of weapons or you have a pool of armor, this is probably the best way to go do it.
Yeah.
Is something like this. Just put it in there. Let us grab everything from it. It probably makes it easier programming for you, but it's aggravating. Like, we've been doing the cookie system for how long? And, probably would have known this if you hadn't gotten rid of so many QA people over the last year, but 5 points is not enough. 15 points is not enough, because you're grinding and clawing your way to that 100, and you get to 100, and then you realize you need 50 more, and you're like, oh my god. The other thing I don't like in all this is you don't get your Solstice packages until you finish the incandescent quests. So it says you're getting Solstice armor, or you're getting Solstice packages, and you're not. And no, they're not stashed away in your inventory. That's annoying. You have to finish all of the incandescent quests to even get the memento for the first time.
Jeez.
So I just think it's unnecessarily grindy. I feel like they made it a little bit more grindy because it's the only thing that's happening for these 3 weeks. There's no Iron Banners. There's no dungeon dropping. There's no raid dropping. No nothing. It makes me really curious for how they're going to handle in episode Revenant. How are you going to handle having both in that 18-week span? You're going to have both Festival of the Lost, and you're going to have the Dawning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of those is going to fall during Act 1. The other one's going to probably fall at the end of Act 2. Like, it's going to happen kind of perfectly. How are you going to do Iron Banners in there? Like, y'all don't usually like to do Iron Banners on story weeks and things like that. Like, we know they're not going to do that probably not going to do the back-to-back weeks anymore, but that means now you have to account for, you're not going to do Iron Banner during an event. So that's six out of those 12 weeks are already off the market. You're not going to do Iron Banner on the week that you launch a dungeon and or raid. So that's potentially 2 more weeks gone. There's 10 potential weeks that you're not going to do it the first week of the season. You have maybe 9 total weeks that you could pick the slap Iron Banner on. You're borderline having something major going on every week, which is great, I think, from a player standpoint. But if it's going to be something super grindy like this, is it worth it? And I think that's the question a lot of us are asking is, the weapons usually aren't super great in these events.
Yeah.
I guess I just want to see something different. I did appreciate that there's new perks on some of the weapons this time around. I do think that the perks need to be updated probably every couple of years for the perk pools, but I don't know. I look at this and I wonder, like, how long is this going to be sustainable for? Is this going to be sustainable into next year or the year after? You know, as we continue to grow these weapon pools, maybe at a certain point you introduce crafting for it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just don't know where we go from here with these events. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm complaining a whole lot, but you know, I think if you're going to grind out that much in an event, there should be some bright dust as a reward. There should be, you know, maybe there's a shader that you award. I know that there's a memento that you can grind towards this time, and you get materials, and there's an exotic ship you can earn, and all that's great. I think there should be a couple more earnable things. I understand why the event card exists. I really think it would be cool if you could just earn that stuff in game, though.
Yeah.
That you didn't have to pay to, because I know you're grinding things out in game to get the event tickets. It would be so cool if you could actually just unlock that stuff in game.
Yeah.
Like any other MMO would be doing. But, you know, I get it. They're under a mandate to make money. This is a Bungie decision that Sony probably was like, we're not going to say no to that. So, Solstice, overall, not a huge fan. I like the idea of the Forge. It needs to be refined. The weapon for me is, at best, unremarkable.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's anything, like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't like using it. There's a couple interesting roles you can get here, particularly destabilizing repulsor brace. I think that's a pretty cool one you can get here. Beyond that, I mean,
yeah,
you can do Archer's Gambit can roll on this, Golden Tricorn repulsor. There's a few rolls on here. It's a void lightweight. if you like bows, like if you like bows and you're using this, please feel free to chime in and write into the show and tell me why I'm wrong about this, because I'm not a big bow guy. Between this and the pre Anthalax, I think is what it is, bow that was up last week, pre Astelanax 4 was the bow that was up, the precision bow that was up last week for Fallen Saber. Which is, I'm not a huge bow guy. I do understand the value of them. I like the ammo economy on them. I just don't like using them particularly. I will say, I think on a bow, having both the Dreamwork and Weiststinger origin traits is really spicy. So Dreamwork, in case you were curious, once per reload, assists or assisted final blows partially refill the weapon from reserves and increase reload speed for a short duration. Bows receive faster draw time, and then on Weist Stinger, damaging an enemy with this weapon has a small chance to reload the magazine and increase movement speed while aiming down sights. Bows receive faster draw speed, and swords receive faster charge time while this perk is active. I think that's interesting. You're not getting like, I don't know, you're not getting a huge bump, but I would say like Weist Stinger is the one that interests me more here. You have a 10% chance of it activating. There's a 4-second cooldown. Dreamwork is interesting. Dreamwork, you basically just get the decreased draw time instead of the other benefits because it's a bow. Mm-hmm. But I think if you can run that with something like Archer's Gambit and Hipfire, like that could be really interesting for some folks, because of course that gives you, Hipfire gives you the stability and aim assist when you're hip firing. With a bow, like why not? Mm-hmm. Right? So it's got some interesting stuff. I did say last week I was going to play around with it. I did play around with it. I didn't super care for it. So that's kind of my 2 cents. I haven't really heard anybody talking about it, but yeah, it's one of those that either I think you're going to love it or you're going to hate it. I still grabbed a couple decent rolls and threw them into my vault for a rainy day in case I ever need a bow. Of course, you can't go wrong with opening shot, successful warm up, or kill clip, successful warm up. You can't go wrong with those either. But with this being a void one, probably want to get one of those with destabilizing and repulsor on it, no matter what.
Yeah.
I know that for me, I run a lot of void stuff already. That's like procking invis and procking void overshields for me. So that's not like as big of a deal to me. But yeah, you want to do that, you can proc the volatile on it. I find that interesting. So yeah, Solstice, man. I've played like 2 or 3 days total of the event. I played that first day. I grinded out some bounties over the weekend, doing some GMs, and then I was playing a bit last night. I was just like, man, I just really don't like grindy events anymore, and I think that's just a personal preference. Like after 10 years, I'm getting really jaded with the seasonal stuff. I don't feel like I need to play the seasonal stuff as much. Mm-hmm. I'll be totally honest. If we didn't have a show, I probably would have skipped Solstice altogether this year. Mm-hmm. That's despite how much I actually have come around on the armor. I think the armor looks significantly better in game than the renderings that we got.
Yeah, I really like the Titan armor this time.
I think the Titan helmet may be the single best piece of armor in this event.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Which neither of us was particularly hot on these sets. Mm-hmm. I think they look a lot better in action and in game.
Yeah.
So, kind of relating to all this, I wanted to bring some data to the table, because we've had some questions about player counts and like, what does it mean? Like, well, there's always people online. Like the game is successful, and like how do we define success? And God bless him, Fran Mirabella was tweeting out some charts over the last couple weeks, and I wanted to bring some of what he said to the table, because I think it's fascinating. I think it's absolutely utterly fascinating. we don't really have a way to determine how many people are playing Destiny at any one time, right?
Right.
So he tweeted out and said, fans are so focused on Steam concurrence, but a reminder, you need to go deep to determine the state of Destiny 2 or any other game. Steam charts don't give you an accurate picture of how a live service game is doing, the quality, etc., but you can glean some things. So there's different ways to look at Steam numbers, right? Time of year, content versus content, days after a big release, etc., etc. So, year over year, growth is flat year on year.
Mm-hmm.
It's flat. It might be up to 10%. Here's where it starts getting weird. Solstice 2023 versus 2024. We are down. This is as of August 9th. So this was last weekend. This was last Friday, I believe. That was 7 days ago. 6 days ago. It'll have been 7 days by the time you listen to this. That's all that matters. Down 25%, and then 60 plus days. So 60 days after Lightfall versus 60 days after the final shape. We are down 45% of players on Steam versus 60 days after Lightfall versus 60 days after the final shape. That is the number that jumps out to me. Because, damn. Yeah, to be down more over an expansion that people said they walked away from, this and that. The regular players that were being said as of this time last week, about 48,000. Again, not super impressive, great numbers. And then I wanted to follow up with what he posted on the 13th. Saying, Destiny 2 isn't dead or done, but morale is low after layoffs and lack of a multi-year roadmap. We've no idea about unique players, and then the year on year is a flat 0%. Free event 25%, and 70 days after Lightfall versus Final Shape, we've jumped from 45% to 54%.
Jeez.
Loss of players, and that's just on Steam. So that kind of gives us an idea of how people are feeling. It kind of feels like, hey, we jumped in, we did the final shape, and then we bowed out, essentially.
Yeah, that's really what it feels like.
Whereas it's funny because, so many people are like, oh, I fucking hated Lightfall. And now, granted, we don't know about the sales of the final shape. We don't know if the final shape sales were said to be less than Lightfall's, from what we heard from Jason Schreier, from Inside Gaming, from Paul Tassi, from a few other people. So I would say, when we talk about success for a game, I don't think that, Steam numbers are the greatest indicator, but they do give us some clues. The reality of the matter is the game has seen a population dip. And as Fran says, we won't be able to establish any trends until we've gone through a full year of episodes, exotic missions, dungeons, and anything else that they release. And you may be like, well, that's common sense. Yeah, it's kind of got to be said, though. I've gotten a lot of questions about this, both publicly and privately. So I just kind of want to lay it out there for people that, the numbers are not phenomenal. We had, Ronnie wrote in with a really great response last week when we were asking, for opinions on state of the game and state of Bungie and things like that. And we had a really good discussion afterwards. I want to say it was last Friday. We were talking in the Discord channel. And it's become one of those things. We may be enjoying it and having a great time as the general public. And the answer is kind of frustrating. I want to say, so I want to read exactly what Ronnie wrote to make me want to answer this question in a roundabout way. It's being said the final shape and Destiny 2 expansions have been on a decline after each expansion. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but didn't they tout the Witch Queen sold more copies than Beyond Light? And then Lightfall hit the biggest pre-order sale that ever had and outselling Witch Queen. So marking Lightfall and the bar higher and higher. Then the final shape fell under the Lightfall bar, but still met Witch Queen numbers. Is that correct? The best answer I can give you is I do not remember Bungie themselves ever coming out and saying Lightfall did better than the Witch Queen. The Witch Queen is the only time I've ever seen them parade around exact pre-order numbers. And that was when they promoted that they had over 1 million pre-orders when we were still a month out from the Witch Queen. That is the only time I can actually remember that happening.
Yeah.
I did some light digging. I didn't really find anything. I just saw that, we were happy with Lightfall's numbers, essentially. And then we know the franchise as a whole did not meet revenue targets and missed by 45% last fall. That to me says Lightfall did not sell as well as it needed to, but also, one, your projections are too high. That is absolutely part of this. Your projections were way too high. And also, you probably undersold a little bit. I know that there's a lot of people that wait until a week or two into an expansion to go ahead and buy it because they want to see how it's going to be received. People who are like, oh, I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out. I had a friend who did this with Final Shape, did not buy Final Shape until several weeks in, and once he got, had a great time, but he's, largely stepping away from Destiny at this point.
Yeah.
And, so those numbers aren't being taken into consideration. Your biggest numbers for any kind of release, any kind of major release is always going to be in that first 60-day window, I would say.
Yeah.
Before the discounts start. And I mean, Lightfall and Final Shape both had this where they were both on sale within 45 days.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that screams you're not selling incredibly well if you got to put something on sale right away.
Yeah.
We joke about Ubisoft games. Ubisoft games do sell incredible because they know their window is that first 3-4 week window to make all the sales, and then they're going to give themselves another boost on their financials by marking the game down at the end of that quarter.
Yeah.
So those are a couple things that we can infer. Ronnie also says, I haven't seen evidence of the statement, it's not selling the peak projected. Is it selling the peak projected numbers? Hell no. But it did or is selling online with at least Witch Queen. I wouldn't call this a flop, even though I don't know much about business. I wouldn't call this a flop either. I don't think it has sold as well as Witch Queen. I'm gonna level with you. I don't think it has sold anywhere near what Witch Queen did.
Oh no, I don't think it has either.
I think it's undercut Witch Queen, and I don't think that that's a bad thing either. I want to be really clear. Witch Queen had, up to that point, and in my little knowledge, probably still had the best numbers of any expansion at launch for Destiny. That includes Forsaken, that includes Beyond Light, that includes Shadowkeep. Yes, Steam numbers were not the highest. Steam numbers were the highest. We hit the peak on Steam with Lightfall's launch, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. With Root of Nightmares, we hit the highest numbers we've ever had on Steam. 316,000 concurrent players. Witch Queen was the biggest non-actual game release that we've ever had for Destiny. Because Destiny 1 and 2, when they released, did millions and millions of copies. So, because you didn't hit the Lightfall numbers, or because you didn't hit Witch Queen numbers, is it a failure? No, not at all. You're absolutely right there. It's not a failure. Mm-hmm. But you make business targets for a reason. You make revenue targets and projections for a reason. This is ultimately a business. And that's not me, I'm not trying to talk down on anyone, but that's the harsh reality of it. Mm-hmm. This is a business. If you miss those projections, now if you miss by 5 to 10%, okay, maybe a little bit gets peeled off. When you miss by 45% for your whole franchise, not just for the expansion, for your whole franchise,
yep,
that's when people start losing jobs.
I mean, that would kill most studios.
That would in any other situation, Pete Parsons at any other studio would have been fired.
Yeah.
He would have been shown the fucking door.
Yeah.
They're pinning a lot on Marathon. They're pinning so much on Marathon right now. And that's a bummer because I don't think it's going to do it for them. So that's kind of, a way that I, a roundabout way of saying, hey, I gave a 5-paragraph explanation in Discord. But something I do want to bring up that I wrote in there is something I've seen a lot of talk of lately is the talk of the cost of maintaining the game and the production of content. I personally would love to have the exact numbers. But the idea behind a gas game, games as a service, is to produce content as cheap as possible while maximizing your profit, which Bungie hasn't been able to do for a while. I personally have come to suspect this is why the dungeon key has become a thing and why we've seen an uptick in the amount of Eververse items and stuff, such as collaborations and event cards. Because keep in mind, D2 is also funding Marathon currently. That reliance should be lessened by Sony now they're fully under the SIE umbrella, though. So,
yeah, man.
I don't know where you go from there. I don't know where you go from there on the business side of things. And we don't know exactly. Oh, how much is Destiny funding Marathon? Like, Destiny's not funding Marathon. Well, yeah, it is. It's the only game.
Yeah,
it's the only game that you're making.
Of course, it is.
It kind of fucking is. Like,
I mean, it totally is, and that's the only thing that's making them any money. Like,
yes.
I mean, Marathon's not. You can't buy Marathon, so it's not funding itself.
Marathon, like the news that Marathon is at least from the time of this recording, Marathon is probably at minimum 13 to 14 months away.
Yeah.
Bare minimum. I am in the camp that thinks it slips to Q1 2026. I don't think they can afford that. I think Bungie absolutely has to try and get this out next fall, especially if the rumors about Call of Duty going to release only an expansion next fall are true. They kind of have to rush to get this out. They don't have much of a choice. There's been some encouraging signs. I think bringing in the game director from Valorant is both a good and a bad move. That has shifted them into hero selection instead of fully customizable characters, which I think is a slippery slope. Chris Barrett not being in charge of the project anymore is also pretty concerning to me, considering he's responsible for Taken King and Forsaken. I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel about this, but I want to give a little bit of perspective because we've had some questions about numbers, about flops, about sales. No, the game did not flop. The Final Shape did not flop.
No.
You can underperform without being a flop. There are critical success stories that underperform every single month in this industry.
I mean, how you can look at it, right? I mean, just from a basic business standpoint, how much did it cost to make versus how much money did it make? And was it able to, make money? And the answer, ultimately, what we've heard was yes, the Final Shape was a success.
Yes.
Critically and financially. However, they've set, some expectation was not met. And so that's why they're in the situation they're in as well. So I don't know, man. I don't know where you go from here either.
I do want to stress that I don't think that the game is like a disaster right now.
No, the game is actually in a great place right now, in my opinion, except for the traditional Solstice stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm not saying I'm overlooking that, but that's like so low on my list of priorities right now.
Yeah.
I kind of look at this and I go, okay, we need to redefine, like, it's not an all or nothing, right? We talked about this with I didn't really want to bring it up again. We talked about this with Jeff Gardner though, about the cost of maintaining a gas game, about developing it, about constantly having a content mill. Like, he was saying, like, we can work on something for months and months and months, and then players blow through it in a day. And he goes, they're like, we don't have any content. Like, man, we just busted our ass to make this content for you. And I think that's made me kind of think about this in a different context. Even just in the span of a week, it's really made me reconsider some things. Because he was saying also, like, how expensive it is to maintain those games. Because you're not just paying for the initial development, you're then paying to continue to make these expansions and these free patches and things like that. Like, you are constantly trying to do that. And he's like, there's balancing, and like Destiny has a whole separate Crucible mode. They have Gambit, they have all these other things. They're trying to tell a seasonal narrative, they're trying to tell expansion stories, and like at a certain point your staff is going to be so depleted you're not able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. The game has to get more profitable somehow. And he was talking about that with us too. Like, you have to be profitable, but you don't want to piss your fans off. You don't want to piss off that core fan base. And unfortunately, that's the point that the business decisions have gotten us to.
Mm-hmm.
It's pissing off the core fan base. The dungeon model. Like, I think we were all fine with paying for an expansion and for the season passes, especially once the season pass content became good. I think we were okay with paying for it then.
Mm-hmm.
We just wanted you to, refine it and shake it up a little bit occasionally. The dungeon key is egregious. the event card is egregious.
Mm-hmm.
I think those actually, like, it may be minuscule in the team, in the scheme of things, maybe like 5 to 10% of your players. That's actually a pretty good chunk that may be getting turned off by these types of things. You know, I have seen comments about the constant nickel and diming in the Eververse. I personally, you guys have heard me for over a year complain about all the collaborations that have been in the Eververse. I don't like that either. I feel like that is something that they are doing to desperately try and make money, because people can be, oh, I can emulate these other franchises that I really love. And so that's why we were so shocked when the Mass Effect cosmetics, not the armor, of course, but they gave a selection of cosmetics, including Normandy, for free.
Mm-hmm.
We were shocked.
Yeah.
That never happens.
No.
I can't even get free things during a summer event. But we were able to get the Normandy paid collaboration for free. Like, that tells me that BioWare probably put their foot down and said, like, fucking BioWare put their foot down and said, you're not charging for this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't want to turn this into a gripe session. I'm not saying any of this to be negative. I'm saying, like, this is some important context, I think, when we talk about, like, what these layoffs are going to cause and how we're going to see, like, content is going to dry up a little bit more. You know, they just lost a good chunk of this studio. They lost a good chunk of the Destiny team. Things are being outsourced. Things aren't going to be caught as easily. You know, with QA, you're not having a dedicated QA team is a fucking disaster for a game like this, by the way. I cannot believe that actually happened.
Right. Yeah.
But, like, you got rid of that. You got rid of some of your absolute best storytellers that you've probably ever had in the history of the studio.
Yeah.
You know, who really understood these characters, who really poured a lot of love into these, like, and they're just gone.
Yeah.
They're just gone. So, yeah, like, I'm, of course, you know, like, I'm part of me is optimistic. I really like where they're going for Revenant. I really like what, I forget what episode 3 is called, Heresy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm optimistic for both those. So those are two storylines that I'm really pumped for.
Yeah.
I'm really pumped for those. Echoes, they couldn't really sell us on without spoiling the main twist, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm really excited for those two because of the potential they can bring out. Them coming out and telling us what to expect in those up front in June was a big deal to me. They never do that. To me, you having to come out and clarify that right away on the heels of a major expansion tells me that, 1, your numbers were not where they needed to be. 2, you needed to keep people engaged and excited.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you could have just revealed a lot of that at, you know, whatever event they decide to do at the end of this month or beginning of September.
Yeah.
But they decided, no, we got to pull the trigger now. They knew that going into the final shape that they were going to need to do that. Because remember, Luke Smith got trotted out in the Vidoc.
Yeah. I mean, that was the first time we saw him in, like, how long?
Yeah. That honestly, probably one of the last things he really did at Bungie was that.
Yeah.
Which is heartbreaking when you think about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want to move off this because I don't want to be doom and gloom. Like, I don't say this to, you know, make anybody be like, oh shit, it's really over. Like, no, I think there's still reasons to be optimistic. It's just, I'm going to be cautiously optimistic going forward, knowing how much everything's been depleted, knowing how the numbers have dipped, the revenue has dipped. When those things start dipping, you get less and less opportunities to be creative.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now with them being under SIE, this can both, there are pros and cons to this. 1, Pete is not going to get as much influence over the studio, which is really, really good. 2, and this is a con, you got a bunch of people in charge of SIE who do not know the first fucking thing about live service or multiplayer. There is a reason why Sony does not traditionally have good multiplayer.
Yeah.
You might be like, well, but Helldivers 2. Arrowhead is not a Sony-owned studio.
Nope.
Okay? You can like the gameplay in Concord. It's not pulling numbers already.
Yeah, it's not.
I'm not optimistic about Concord. Okay? Yeah. But Helldivers was really Sony's first multiplayer hit in how long? I think even if we're not talking about like a strictly multiplayer game, if we talk about a mode that is not Gran Turismo, racing games are a league of their own. I think you have to go all the way back to the first Last of Us. Maybe you can go back to Uncharted 4 for the multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
And say that's the last time they even developed multiplayer mode that was good.
Yeah.
So, And there's differences. Like when you have a mode like that, that's not live service. When you have a whole game that's multiplayer, that's live service. And that's why, you're not getting a factions game, because they would have had to change the entire studio over. And so, we kind of touched briefly on this with Jeff. The transition from Fallout 4 to 76 happened over 3 years. That is lightning fast. Like in today's day and age, that is like a 6-year transition minimum.
Yeah.
With how long AAA takes to develop. So it's like, man, I kind of look at this and I go, I really wish that they, Destiny could have funded some of these single player games that they had to cancel. And I would have taken some traditional Bungie single player games over Marathon. I think players would have too. You'd have gotten your revenue from those if you could have gotten on a cadence of one of those every like 2 to 3 years, in addition to Destiny content. But I don't control the books. I don't know what players want, apparently. So
how dare you?
It is what it is. How dare I? How dare I?
Oh.
What else do we have? Now that I've successfully depressed the entire audience for a straight hour.
First we went to your podcasting history, then you made everyone depressed. What's next, Josh?
The TWAB is next.
Oh God.
Which the TWAB has some good stuff. It's really short, but it's got some stuff in here. So let's go through the TWAB pretty quickly here. GCX is happening this weekend, 16th and 17th. In Orlando. They have 2 playable Destiny 2 experiences there. That was covered in a previous TWID. 8v8 Sparrow Control is going to be live in Crucible Labs on Friday, August 16th. I had to just look at my calendar real fast. I almost said August 9th for some reason. Part of me wanted to say February. 8 Guardians facing off against 8 Guardians for maximum chaos. Be ready to share your insurance information. Those of you at home who won't be making the trip to GCX in person will get to test out this new mode, and who knows, maybe you'll match with your favorite creator on the event floor. This is a highly experimental mode, as we have never tried to cram this many Guardians into one Crucible match before. Things could get a little hairy. We'll be monitoring stability and may turn it off. If you can't play during the weekend, don't worry. You will have the chance to test this experimental mode again for 2 weeks starting on August 27th. This sounds really wacky, and I really hate that this is dropping the same day as a Marvel Fortnite season. Mm-hmm. That's where my attention is going tomorrow. Solstice, we hardly knew you.
Gosh, Josh,
I have a Doctor Doom skin to get.
I'm staring at this X-Men skin on the package skin on Fortnite right now, and I'm like, do I get it?
Oh, listen, they are doing a Peely Wolverine, and that has me so excited.
A Peely Wolverine?
Yes, Peely is dressed up as Wolverine.
Oh,
they're also doing him as Deadpool.
The banana. I was like, what's this version of Wolverine that I have never heard of?
They are also the Fishman Fish Stick is also going to be dressed up as Deadpool. Sabretooth Meowskulls. Captain America Jonesy.
I know that one looks cool.
They got some great skins.
Yeah,
I really like the pass.
I already have Rogue though, so I don't know if I really need this X-Men package.
I mean, I need the Cyclops emote at the very least.
But I want the Jubilee one.
I hate Jubilee.
It's fine. I hate Cyclops.
Cyclops is a cop, so you should.
Although I heard he's pretty cool in X-Men 97.
Have you not watched 97 yet?
I'm watching the original series first again.
I implore you to watch 97. It is so good.
I'm going to. I'm watching the original series leading up to
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
What do you mean?
Corey's a liar. You guys heard it. You guys heard it here. Corey's a liar.
I am no liar.
Corey doesn't want to watch X-Men 97. He only wants to watch Ninja Turtles.
I mean, I do want to watch Ninja Turtles. Although the new show doesn't look very good on Paramount, unfortunately.
All right.
Paramount closed down their entire production studio. So who knows how long that's going to last.
Yeah, I could sit here and probably rant for another hour about that, but I won't. I will spare everybody's earbuds. Xur is getting a little more exotic. We've heard the feedback about exotic class items loud and clear, so we're making improvements to how they can be acquired. We have some ideas for additional updates to make in the future, but they are still early in development and will take some time to get it right. In the meantime, our first source of acquisition outside the Pale Heart is coming soon, and with the update coming on August 20th. For those of you keeping track at home, that's next Tuesday. The wild card offer that featured ritual engrams, exotic ciphers, and raid banners will be moved to Xur's strange offers category to make room each week for either an exotic class item or an exotic cipher. Exotic class items at Xur will cost 41 strange coins and will have random rolls. The only requirement to get them is to have unlocked the regular acquisition path through the dual destiny mission for each character. If not offered, the alternative is an exotic cipher, which will cost 79 strange coins and will be limited to one per account. Xur will be guaranteed to sell exotic class items the first week this category is available on August the 23rd, but every week afterwards, he'll return to his RNG ways as his will is not his own. I love this. I'm a big fan of this. I personally thought that the drop rate was like kind of fine. Maybe not if you're like trying to optimize getting stuff, and I understand. Doing overthrows, running around in a circle in the Pale Heart can get exhausting. Especially when you keep getting the same perks that you don't want on these class items. There's so many perks that they can drop. I do think selling a guaranteed one at Xur is great. I like that. You can buy, and like each week they're up, as long as you turn in 41 coins, you can do it. So people may be grinding out coins on those weeks since you can only hold 100. I think this is a great idea personally. I still think it's just faster to go run Dual Destiny, honestly. But whatever. Not everybody wants to go run that mission a million times either. So this is kind of a nice way for those of us who are really lazy, who are tired of running the mission, who are tired of running overthrows. This is a good way. It does say this is the first of a few different avenues, which I do think is the way it should happen. If you get a new avenue each episode, I wouldn't be upset. I think, maybe you should be able to turn in Nightfall ciphers for them. I think that would be another avenue. Maybe make them random drops in, I don't know, Crucible or something. I don't know. But I think that definitely turn in like 3 exotic engrams and be able to get one at Rahul. I don't know. There's a few ideas that I can come up with. The latest Trials weapon is going to be back next week, which is Aisha's Care. I almost said Aisha's Curse. Aisha's Care. It's the 2-burst heavy pulse. Very excited for that. As a reminder, the new passage of Persistence with friends. Losses will not remove wins if you go into a fight with a full fire team of 3. And the map is going to be Dissonance, which is the map on the Witnesses Pyramid. So good luck with that in Trials. Speaking of newer maps, Cirrus Plaza. Cirrus Plaza will be the map for the week after, starting on August 23rd. So Trials this week, starting on Friday, will have Aisha's Care. So I will have to play some Trials. I desperately want this in my inventory. I just wanted it in my loot pool. That's all I want. I just wanted it in the loot pool. I played a lot last week, and it was fucking Eye of Soul, so I'm pretty upset. I almost went flawless solo queuing last week.
Ooh. How'd you manage
that? Luck.
Wow.
But I cruised through the first 5 or 6 matches, and then it just went downhill from there. So I did not achieve it, but I have high hopes for Aisha's Care. I really want to get this in my loot pool. I'm very excited. I did finally get a Cataphract. I did get to buy one of those with my Trials Engrams. Pretty pumped about that. That is finally in the loot pool. I can buy some extras now. Of course, I'm sure it's not going to be good once I finally get to use it, but there we go. We don't really have anything else in the TWAB. There's really nothing else. You can buy a Destiny skateboard. You can buy a Destiny skateboard for doing some of your Solstice challenges.
Hell yeah!
So, if I was into skateboarding, this would be really cool. I have no need for a skateboard.
Let me dust off my Dreamcast and put in Tony Hawk 2 while I can.
These are limited to 1,000 skateboards, and they will be individually numbered.
Ooh. Interesting.
So
I mean, it's a cool looking thing, but wires. I mean, never mind. I collect stupid things all the time. I was about to ask why skate decks are like cool collectibles, but I collect. Really
I also collect a lot of stupid things, and that's why I also stopped myself from asking this question.
Skateboarding. Remember when skateboarding was all the rage in 1997? We had Tony Hawk. It's the Superman song.
I do. I like how that's what everybody brings up, and I definitely remember the soundtracks for Tony Hawk 3 and 4 more. They were very formative for me in 2001, 2002.
Yeah, that's fair. I played Tony Hawk. I played the
particularly it ignited my love for ska music. It was I kind of came full circle with it. Less Than Jake did music in some of those games, and I remember they were both in those games, and they were in the Digimon movie. I saw Less Than Jake 8-9 years later when I was in high school. I think I was going into my senior year of high school. They were playing on Warped Tour. And I was the only person in my group who knew they were. And I was so excited. They're all excited for like these screamo, very loud bands that I didn't like. I was very excited for the clearly late 40s, early 50s ska band that was out there. Any band that brings a trumpet and a saxophone as part of, and like a trombone as part of their ensemble, they're great in my book. So yeah, if you care about a skateboard, Destiny skateboard, this is for you. It's like $125 too.
Jesus,
Corey, it's limited to 1,000 units. Okay,
I know
they're individually numbered.
But Josh, you could get the cool crow statue for $5 cheaper.
You could get the Puka plush for $70 less.
Wait, hold on. There's a Puka plush?
They made a Puka plushie. It is not on the Bungie store yet, but it is, however, on Big Bad Toy Store.
So I'll wait. I'll wait.
Some of our Discord members were a little concerned about that link that Ronnie posted. They're like, I am not clicking on that. Like, no, guys, it's totally safe. Trust me. Our friend Colonel Panic, Joe Wilson, turned me on to it. It's where he buys a lot of his Halo statues from when they come out.
Yeah.
So, I think that does it for us here. Before we jump into lore quarter, let's do a couple questions. We have a few questions here. Yeah, we have some questions. Why is there a fucking ice cream truck? Can you hear the music from that?
No.
There is an ice cream truck outside my window for some reason. It's very creepy because it's dark and it's 9 p.m.
Do we need to pause the recording so you can go get your Spider-Man gumball eyeball ice cream?
No, this thing drives around every couple of days, and it's like at various times. Like yesterday, it was at like 5 o'clock. Now it's 9 p.m. and it's dark outside. It's very creepy because we're in an apartment complex, and I've never seen anybody go out in like the 2 or 3 years that this thing's been driving around. I've never once seen anybody go out to it. And we have a lot of kids that live in our neighborhood. So, yeah, it's kind of creepy. I think any child is probably getting ready for bed right about now.
Yeah. I mean, my kids are in bed. So
fair.
What adults are partying with ice cream trucks?
With the Sonic ice cream bars.
Oh man.
All right. Let's do the Bungie related questions first, and then we'll get to Tiger Jesus's question because that's going to be a fun one. Jiggly Panda writes in, of course, and asks, do you think Bungie will ever take a page out of Epic's book and put silver on sale or even mark them down in price permanently? They have put silver on sale once, and it was in April of this year.
Yeah.
They did a silver sale. It wasn't by much, but they did 20% off. I know because I stocked up on some silver.
Yeah.
And we were all shocked that they put it on sale. Like, damn, things must really be dire if you're putting silver on sale. I don't think they're ever going to put it down in price permanently.
Yeah, I don't either.
It should be noted, Epic doesn't necessarily put V-Bucks on sale or mark them down in price permanently. What they did is they globally realigned prices for V-Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Epic actually did. I was talking about this with a friend last night, actually, regarding this and silver. So, Whenever Pete eventually gets the good old boot from Bungie, do you think Sony will try to bring Luke back? No. The days of Luke Smith at Bungie are over.
Yeah.
Luke's done.
Yeah.
Luke's done. I'll put it this way. If you got fired from somewhere, would you want to go back there? Because it's not like we've gotten conflicting reports. Did he get fired? Did he leave on his own? If you left on your own, yeah, there's the potential to like be brought back. If you got fired, would you really want to go back there?
Right.
Like, because the parent company didn't step in, to think that you were worth saving. And to be fair, Sony probably didn't have any sort of control over this, by the way. This is the incident that likely caused them to take full control.
Yeah.
My guess would be no, Luke and Mark are never coming back.
Mm-hmm.
You would have a better chance of getting somebody like Joe to come back, but even that, I don't think it's going to happen. Casey Hudson is a very interesting case over at BioWare. That's one of the few developers that has been fired from or left a studio and then come back that I can think of, like high profile.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I can't imagine wanting to come back after your game got axed and you publicly were thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
After you took the harassment for years and your CEO did nothing.
Yeah.
So
I can't really think of anybody else really who left and came back. Well, I guess technically Cory Barlog did, I guess. Right? He was the director of God of War 2, and then he came back to do the new one, right? After he went to Crystal Dynamics.
Yeah. Cory Barlog's one of the ones.
Not that he left a studio and came back, but despite what anybody thinks of him or not, David Jaffe left Sony and then came back to work on Twisted Metal, the 2012 or 13 reboot, right? So
the only other person I can really think of is oh my god, I'm forgetting his full name, but he was his name is Drew, and he was one of the designers at Insomniac. He left to go be the lead level designer on Perfect Dark, and then 2 years in left and went back to Insomniac.
Right.
In a lesser role than he had at Initiative.
Drew Murray,
that's who I'm thinking of. I kept wanting to say Drew Goddard, and that's a filmmaker. Drew Murray did that. Like I said, it's extremely rare. Mm-hmm. It's extremely rare that high-profile game directors or franchise directors do that.
I mean, the fact that we spent four minutes on that and we could only come up with 5 tells you a whole lot.
And I don't consider 2 of those to like really be in the same category.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
I think Cory Barlog is probably the only. Cory Barlog and Casey Hudson are probably like the only 2 that I would put up in that tier.
Yeah.
In terms of like franchise or like studio directors. So, I will add one more. Chris Metzen, over at Blizzard, who was pretty big on the original WoW team, left for a couple years, has come back now to lead the franchise. Mm-hmm. So yeah, 3 names, three names, and it took us like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So the answer is no. It's slim to none that he comes back.
Yeah. Rod Ferguson kind of did that with Gears, I guess.
Yeah. So
but it's not the same situation though, right? Because he left Epic to go to Irrational, right? For BioShock Infinite.
He saved BioShock Infinite, yeah.
And then he was hired at Black Tusk, which then became the Coalition to lead Gears 4 and 5. Right. He went to Blizzard for Diablo. And that's why we're getting a prequel, because I think Rod Ferguson's going to finish 6. I think he's going to do 6.
I'd be okay with that.
He stated multiple times he has an idea of where 6 should go, but he doesn't work at the studio currently, he said.
Yeah, but with all the cross collaboration,
yeah, and
that, he also Microsoft they're trying to promote.
Yeah, he also said that pre-acquisition. So,
yeah. Corey, we have a question that you'll enjoy here.
Ooh.
Tiger Jesus writes in, Are you guys more excited for Universal's Epic Universe or the new rides coming to Disney?
Oh, Disney, 100%. I don't.
So
Care.
I'm gonna say both.
I mean, yeah, sure, but I don't care about
Purely
Universal.
because I'm super excited. My excitement for Super Nintendo World is bigger than any Disney announcement that was made. But Epic Universe as a whole completely uninterests me.
Yeah, no,
Like
I mean,
Super Nintendo Land is doing so much heavy lifting here for me.
why didn't they just make the park Super Nintendo World? Why didn't they just make the whole
Uh,
park that?
because I think that's unsustainable to a degree.
Man, I think if any property could do it besides Disney, it would be Nintendo.
Maybe, but you're really only. I mean, here's my problem with doing a whole park for Nintendo, because that was kind of my pitch for Epic Universe at first. Is like, at least make half the park Nintendo. They've clearly left a lot of expansion space.
Mm-hmm.
And, Corey, I know you hear some of the same rumors I do. Like, the big rumor is that The Legend of Zelda is going to be the first big expansion of that park.
Mm-hmm.
There's also stuff swirling that Pokemon is going to go into one of the Universal parks.
Yeah.
If Pokemon goes in, that's your big one. I think Pokemon's a bigger draw than anything Nintendo could put in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That to me is like the cash cow right there. Like, yeah, Mario is big. Pokemon though, like that, Pokemon transcends video games.
Yeah. I mean, I almost feel like, Mario's still popular, right? Clearly.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like Mario is starting to transition into that Mickey Mouse territory where like Nintendo does so many other things now that like Mario is at some point will just be the mascot of the brand at some point, and the other games will take over.
Right. And then, I mean,
opinion, at least
you kind of look at what Disney's doing. And I mean, if we're strictly comparing the Florida parks, you look at what they're doing over there. And I know Corey and I are both really excited for Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm.
We're always going to be excited for Indiana Jones.
Hell yeah.
They're doing Encanto, like right across the street from it. Like, okay, so tropical Americas.
This household is excited for the Encanto ride, okay?
I had wondered why an Encanto ride would make sense. And my girlfriend, who has watched this movie a few times, had to explain to me that one of the children in it apparently speaks to animals, and that is who the ride is following.
Yeah.
I know nothing about. I have tried to watch this movie multiple times. I've fallen asleep in the first song every single time.
Oh, man,
no matter how untired I am. No, I'm not.
I can't wait for the Bruno section.
I'm cautiously excited for the stuff going into Hollywood Studios. I like Monsters Inc. I'm a big fan of getting more roller coasters in at Disney. I'm not happy that this is probably meaning the death of my beloved Muppet Vision 3D.
See, I feel like
that is an institution as far as I'm concerned.
I feel like that section of the park is too small.
Corey, I really hope that you're right, because I need that to be preserved. My two pitches for where to put this is the Indiana Jones stunt show or the Rock and Roller Coaster with Aerosmith.
I think the Rock
you got to do something with Animation Courtyard, but the problem is there's too many offices there.
I think the Rock and Roller Coaster makes the most sense. Aerosmith is done touring.
Yep.
That ride is 30 years
old. You have the existing building there.
Yeah, you have the building.
You can expand back there with no problems if you need to.
Right.
And you've got the old Lightning McQueen Academy over there. You can move the Mike and Sully meet and greet. You could maybe even do move the laugh floor out of Magic Kingdom over there.
Yeah, and the Lightning McQueen thing can move over to the Magic Kingdom when Cars Land opens, or
just go away.
They can change it up a little bit. Like, they can reuse that animatronic, right? I mean, it's just one car you can move over there. Yeah, man. I think the Rock and Roller Coaster area makes the most sense for that.
Yeah, that's my hope, is that's what they do.
You already have the entrance there.
I
know.
Take the
limousine down and put Mike Wazowski hanging upside down.
And if it's gonna be in the Monsters Inc. factory, you need to have it like off to the side. You don't want that like being something you stare at through the whole fucking park.
Right. You put it like kind of back, like where the car show is. Just put it back there.
I'm super stoked about the additions to Smuggler's Run. Putting Mando and Grogu in is, just a no-brainer. That also indicates to me that they're going to move away from like the whole, it has to be set on Batu's storyline.
Yeah.
It has to be in the sequel trilogy era. Like, that to me is the clearest indication they're going to move away from that. I still think they're going to move Star Tours over there eventually. It makes too much sense. Put it where Kylo Ren's little ship is.
I mean, that all that Star Wars stuff, like that Jedi Academy and Star Tours, like if
put
you're
it all over there.
If you're going to put Monsters Inc. over where the Muppets are, you would have to rip that stuff out.
Yeah, and I don't know that they want to do that because the Ewok Village and the AT-AT are like iconic for a ride entrance.
Yeah.
I feel like Muppet Vision might be safe for right now. I'm really scared because that is, I don't get this way about a lot of theme park shows. It is genuinely the one show I've ever seen in the theme park that needs to be saved.
I love that show so much.
It is one of I love the Muppets, and it is one of my all-time favorite Muppet things. It is Sam Eagle's finest hour.
God, Sam Eagle.
That is, we quote that show so often in this house. It is still some of the best 3D I've ever seen. And it was made in 1989.
You know how many times I've told my wife you have 3 minutes?
Many times we quote the Sam Eagle line of it's a salute to all nations, but mostly America.
It's the best.
It's a show-stopping 4.5 hour musical number. You got 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
it's the best.
Oh, it's fucking great. I love that. We love Bean Bunny. We love Walt. I love Walt. She hates Waldo. I love Waldo. My remote control banana cream pie. Oh, it's great. I fucking love the Muppets, guys. I love the Muppets so much.
I love the old guys up in the balcony.
I love that they get somebody in a Sweetums costume to still run in there.
Bunny.
Yeah. Bunny.
Oh, so good.
It's great. It's fucking great. The Swedish chef's cannon that goes off.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. It's such a good show. I fucking love it.
Save the Muppets.
Save the Muppets. Save the Muppets. And then can we move Great Moments in American History starring the Muppets over there while we're at it?
Yeah.
I'm very upset that that's no longer in Liberty Square.
Yeah. God, dude.
Epcot's not getting any of that. They basically said, fuck you for Epcot.
That's not true. They're getting a lounge.
Which, I mean, I'll probably go to one time because I like bars. Lounge. Yeah, I like bars. I like paying for overpriced cocktails at the happiest place on earth, so I'll probably go there. Magic Kingdom is the crux of all this, though, right? Magic Kingdom is like a quarter of the park is getting transformed.
Yeah.
They're ripping out the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island, which...
Good.
Yeah, if you're one of the people upset about... I understand. They're like, yeah, you're going to lose some of the ambiance of the park and this and that. I do agree. It's very nice, especially in the morning over there. But I want rides.
Yeah.
I'm here for rides. I'm sorry.
Anything that takes the line away from the Haunted Mansion, Josh.
Anything that takes the line away from a ride that I give a fuck about is great. So 4 new rides planned, 2 in Cars Land, 1 that's going to be, a big ride that's clearly inspired by number 3, 1 that is going to be a more family-oriented ride, which they need more rides for people with little children that are not Goofy's Barnstormer because your back will hurt by the end of that ride.
I don't fit in Goofy's Barnstormer, Josh.
I don't either. I did not fit from the time I was like 15 because I was too tall. I used to have to try and take my cousin on that, and I was not able to.
Mm-hmm.
I also found out I did not fit in the cars once I hit about 19. Again, my legs. I was cramped.
Yeah.
And then Villain's Land. I'm actually really stoked for Villain's Land. I think Villain's Land is going to be really cool. I think it's a cool idea.
I like that they're going to use. I mean, Maleficent is clearly...
Maleficent's getting a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a no-brainer to me. No-brainer that you're going to do a Maleficent coaster. The rumor is it's 2 coasters. I would really love for it to be a Maleficent coaster and a Hades coaster.
Yeah.
Hades cruise through the underworld, I think would be great.
That'd be awesome.
Do it as a fucking boat ride even. I don't care.
The Hydra
I don't care.
Do it. Do it.
I actually, you know what I would actually love as a coaster? I would love Yzma and Kronk's roller coaster from the Emperor's New Groove movie.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
I would love that. I would love that so much.
That'd be awesome.
I need it to have a Kronk animatronic yelling, Yzma, put your hands up.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Patrick Warburton already does the Soren intro. Just call him up.
I know. They clearly still pay him. He was at D23.
Yeah, he had a mustache. It was great.
Oh. No Figment remake, Josh.
No Figment remake, much to our chagrin. They are doing Test Track for a third time. It's so telling that they've fixed Test Track like 4 different times. Mm-hmm. And the best version was still the original.
Yeah.
I long for the original Test Track, Corey. But it's not going to happen. Disneyland looks really... I love everything they're doing at Disneyland. Just like, God, if I went primarily to Disneyland, I'd be over the moon with what they're doing. Avatar is coming there with a brand new ride. Brand new area that's nothing like Pandora is in Animal Kingdom.
Expanding Avengers Campus.
The Coco ride. And then, yeah, God, dude, 2 new Avengers Campus rides. Infinity Defense and the Stark Flight Lab. That just... I love it. I love it, Corey. I love it so much.
I love it. Figment lives another day, though.
Figment lives another day.
No ride remake, but he lives for another day. I'm shocked.
Hang on. I gotta go on mute for a second. I gotta go answer the door.
Okay.
Had somebody very angrily knocking at my door and then realized he had the wrong door.
Jeez. Of course.
Dude, he was like pounding on our door, dude. Whoever he's trying to find, he is not happy with. Because I opened the door and I was like, can I help you? And I was like, can I fucking help you? And he was like, oh shit, I'm sorry. I have the wrong apartment. You are not the person I'm looking for. I was like, okay.
Jeez. People, man.
Yeah. People.
Get them out of here. People suck. Anyways.
All right.
What were we talking about? I don't know.
We were wrapping up. We wrapped up Disney.
Yeah. They're adding Frozen to Paris, in case you were wondering.
Frozen's getting added to Paris. They're doing a Spider-Man coaster in Shanghai.
Yeah, which looks pretty identical to the Guardians of the Galaxy one at Epcot.
I mean, it is what it is. If you have a ride system, why mess with it?
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to develop that for one ride, right? You're going to use it.
No.
So.
Well, why don't we do some Lore Corner and get out of here?
Lore Corner.
Man, I've been trying to figure out how to piece together some Maya Sundaresh lore. This has actually been a challenge. This is you have to go back through 10 years of Destiny to piece together Maya's story.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna read 2 of these tonight because they're both pretty short. The first one we're gonna do is the Tractor Cannon, and I'm kind of deciding on the other one that I want to do. I think I want to do is this the one I was looking for? No, that's not the one I was looking for. Okay, I can't find the one that I had bookmarked because it's not showing up now, which is wonderful. So yeah, we're gonna do. Yeah, I think we're just gonna do this tonight. I think he found who he was looking for. I hear yelling.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we're gonna do Tractor Cannon. Tractor Cannon is.
I'd be scared.
Tractor Cannon is it's extremely short. It kind of gives us a bit of an intro to Maya and Chioma Essie, which is a big deal. Chioma Essie met Maya in their undergraduate gym, and they got into an argument about deadlifting. Was it necessary? Was it practical? Why was Chioma making so much noise? Maya Sundaresh just couldn't stand the notion that some things were done for their own sake, not because they had any use. Decades later, They joined the Ishtar Collective on Venus to study the enigmatic ruins unearthed by the travelers terraforming. The first time it happened, Vex code leaping across an air gap, surfing the quantum vacuum from simulation to reality, infecting a utility frame. Shioma pulled an alarm while Maya tried to grab the precious frame with a cargo-grade gravity grapple. She couldn't lift the grapple. Shioma grabbed it, pinned the frame to the wall, and won the argument. So that's obviously intended to be the tractor cannon. One of the core things about these two is that they were on one of the Exodus ships, which is a little interesting to me. They were on one of the Exodus ships, and of course, as we know, they end up becoming the founders of Neomuna. But the other one I think we're gonna read is going to be the Tropopause ship, and this one takes place after the events of Lightfall, obviously, with Quinn Ligari. What are the literary archives like here on Neomuna? Of all the burning questions she had, Ikora landed on this one. The hollow prediction of Quinn Ligari smiled coyly. Depends. What are you looking for? Ikora blinked. What was she looking for? At what other point in history had two civilizations of this scale reunited centuries after a divergence? Where does one even begin? The archivist went on. We've got historical texts, both pre- and post-Exodus Indigo, all of the publicly released research papers from the Ishtar Collective, and maybe a few unpublished ones, she added with a wink. We've got everything from cookbooks to court documents to blueprints, a vast array of fiction, some even pre-Golden Age, sci-fi, fantasy, adventure, parody memoir, more than a few naughty novels. Ikora cleared her throat. Perhaps you could direct me to any information the city is willing to share regarding the Veil. Effective tactical maneuvers against the Vex, the Cloud Strider vetting process, the sheesh, buy me a drink first, Terran. Ikora stammered. I'm kidding, Quinn chuckled. I'll start the queries. No. Ikora shook her head with a soft smile. Your point is well taken. If we are to be allies, perhaps we try our hand at friendship as well? Quinn returned the smile, then asked, the archive is always on the hunt for cultural contributions. If you were to offer such a contribution, what would it be? She leaned in. In other words, what is Ikora Ray's favorite book? Ikora thought for a moment, then chuckled. There's an old Earth detective series I've been meaning to revisit. So I think that this is kind of important in our understanding of what Maya and Shioma really brought to the table. They were, they're researchers and they're archivists, but they saved so many things from even pre-Golden Age. This is the only library in the universe that has pre-Golden Age texts in it now. And pre-Golden Age stories. That's a huge deal. That's a huge, huge deal. Like their research, yes, it may have been primarily focused on the Vex, but they also founded the city of Neomuna, and we've all been in Neomuna. Like, look how futuristic that is compared to everything on Earth. It's night and day.
Yeah.
Everyone is digitally uploaded. There's so many things, and there's the story about how, Maya vanished into the Vex network and eventually Shioma went in after her. And that's why I'm kind of wondering where the story's going to go in Act 3. I wonder if Shioma is going to show up to try and stop Maya. Or did the copies of Maya from the Vex overrun and erase Shioma at some point?
Yeah.
We know Asher exists within the network also, so clearly you can exist as a person still within it. Just how long can you do it without losing yourself to the Vex, essentially? Or losing yourself to a simulation? So I think there's some fascinating story threads here, and I want to dive more into Maya's story and more of her research on Venus. We've gotten so many tidbits, even in the final shape, with Cade being her bodyguard, that was Cade's queen, in his memories of his wife and Ace, and Micah being Ace is inferred. That's kind of wild how they all tie together ultimately, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like some very, very important figures in the history of the Destiny universe all kind of converged at one point. One of them while she was a child.
Yeah.
So.
It's Maya Sundaresh and Micah 10 are some of the most fascinating characters in Destiny in a long time, in my opinion. Just like their lore,
Mm-hmm.
and the history, and Cade's connection. That it's fascinating, and I love to read. I love to look into this stuff. I love it. I love it, and that's I think that's why I'm like even more frustrated about everything that's going on, is because like the writing for the final shape, what like especially like the wild card mission or like some of the other stuff was really good, and like and not that the narrative team that's still there can't do it, but like those were some great things that were happening, and I don't know, man. Now I'm just ranting and upset.
Yeah, Maya's been one of the most mysterious characters for a long time. We've gotten bits and pieces. It really sped up when we got Lightfall.
Mm-hmm.
We got some stuff back during Season of the Splicer, and then it kind of went quiet until Lightfall. And Lightfall, with the veil containment stuff, we got more about her and Shioma especially.
Mm-hmm.
And now obviously we're in Echoes, we're getting even more. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how this comes to a head here in a couple weeks. We're about 10 days away from getting some answers, hopefully, and I can't wait to see it. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I'm very, very excited.
Well, Corey.
Well, Josh, it's about that time.
Get us out of here. Yep, it's that time. Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to this episode of Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. If you want to hear Josh and I ramble for 2.5 hours with one of the most interesting minds in gaming, you can check out the Boss Rush podcast on Monday. It'll be a good time. Josh, thank you for your time as always. Where can we find you?
Twitter, Josh_Finn. Let's do it.
2 N's, everybody.
2 N's.
You can find me at I Am Corey in HD. You can find Tower Casuals. Like, subscribe, share, rate, and review wherever you listen or watch. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye.